Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Good morning. Today is Monday, December the 1st. Brand new month here in the overall markets. Good morning. What's up? Yeah, as for the overall markets coming into today, a little bit of a gap down here. We had some news over the weekend. We'll kind of talk about the levels that we'll look for coming into today, of course. What's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys had a great holiday weekend here. Did some of you guys end up joining the stream yesterday? That was a super solid stream. Hopefully, some of you guys were able to watch that one. I will have that uploaded. I'm still trying to figure out a way to upload it. Most likely, I will on my second channel. So keep an eye out on that if you want to see the recording for the live stream yesterday on the key levels. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Good morning, Victor, Jeff. Good morning, Cody, Lamid, I am, Andreas. What's up, everyone? Michael, 50, Wayne, Robert, Ryan, Detecto, KO. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Great stream. Watch it today. It was great. Yeah. Glad you guys enjoyed that one. The stream, yeah, we had it on the main channel yesterday. That was at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then I'll also upload it most likely on my second channel coming soon. So I'll keep you guys updated on that, and I'll post that on my second channel so you guys can watch that. Okay. So coming into today, first things first, let's pull up the Forex Factory and then we'll get started here. Let me grab some water as well. Alrighty. So coming into this week for our red folder news events, we do still have some earnings here as well. So the earnings we have this week, really a bunch of the Canadian banks, and then we also have a couple other earnings names as well that we can keep an eye out on for this week. As for our red folder news events, Monday, we do have some red folder news at 10 a.m. today, which is going to be ISM manufacturing PMI at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's something to keep in mind. As for Tuesday, no red folder news. Wednesday, some red folder news at 8:15 ADP non-farm enrollment, along with some ISM services at 10 a.m. once again here as well. And then on Thursday, we have unemployment back at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So normally speaking, unemployment claims is on Thursday, and now it's just going to be back to its regular scheduled time. And then, of course, on Friday, we have consumer sentiment, which is going to be at 10 a.m. We have core PC, and then we have the inflation here as well. So Friday, fairly big red folder news day here with consumer sentiment and core PC at 10 a.m. So this is the red folder news events that we have coming into this week. So this is something to keep in mind here for the economic calendar. Besides that, now let's go on to the charts that we have coming into today. Let's actually pull up the Forex Factory here as well. Let me actually copy this image. So at least for the earnings calendar coming into this week here, we don't have too many earnings. The main thing here is we have a bunch of Canadian banks, so potentially that can give us some guidance moving forward. But at least for a couple of earnings, notable earnings that we can keep an eye out on, Marvel, this is Tuesday after close, where you have CRM, Snow. We have a couple other ones to keep in mind. Nothing too crazy, but we'll just keep this in the back of our mind. So that's what we have for the earnings calendar, at least coming into today. Coming into this week. Now let's go on to the charts that we have. Okay, let's head on to the major indices, and then we will go on to some tech names, of course, and then we'll go on to some other tickers as well. All right, first things first. As you can see here for the ES, these are the key levels that we have. So really last week's price action, we end up having a really straight line towards the upside. Every single day last week was green, no major pullbacks here in the overall markets, and we just end up continuing higher. You can see to start off the week here, we're having a little bit of pullback in the overall markets. My key level, at least for the ES, from a higher time frame perspective, really is going to be this 6,800. This is my dip add or a potential pullback longs for continuation higher. You can see previous level of resistance. Now you can see turn into immediate support, pushing higher. Now what I like to see is really the hold above. Now it's going to be this 6,800 for continuation towards the upside. So this is going to be the dip add spot that we're going to keep an eye out on here for the overall markets for a push higher in the near term. If we break underneath it, then potentially we can see a flip and we can see a potential pushback towards the downside. But overall, at least from the hourly time frame perspective, that's going to be my key level. If I zoom in here to the 15-minute time frame, key level here is going to be this Wednesday's lows that also coincides with your Tuesday's highs. As I mentioned, really key levels for me is going to be your 6,800. If we can maintain potential mean reversion back towards the upside. Another long scenario here now is most likely going to be the reclaim back above your 6,850 for this continued pushback towards the upside. So two long scenarios here for the ES coming into market open. Other levels, of course, we can have marked out. We can kind of just mark out this equilibrium here as well, this 6,820. That's also a possible reclaim level for continuation higher. So we have two levels, two major levels, and then we can mark out just an intraday level based off of your price action from last week, which is just going to be this 6,820, which is our key pivot level from Wednesday, and you have multiple touches here. So the major two key levels, and then we can mark out this 6,820 coming into market open. So these are the key levels I have for the ES. If we go on to the SPY chart, fairly similar thesis here. Higher time frame, the key levels that I have marked out, 682. Other levels I have marked out, which is our 676 previous level of resistance. As you can see, immediate retest. Now based off the higher time frames, I would just like to see this level hold for this continued pushback towards the upside. As long as you can maintain above your 676, we can see continuation higher. Another possible scenario, break above now 682 for this pushback towards the upside here as well. If we go back onto the 15-minute time frame, exact same thesis. Key levels that we could have marked out, 676, and then we have our 682. Potential bounce off that 676 long for continuation higher. Another possible long is going to be that reclaim back above that 682 for continuation. And then even another level we can have marked out now is going to be your 679. Potential reclaim above that for continuation higher. So really three potential kind of long scenarios for the overall market today for a pushback towards the upside. I think the best in my opinion is going to be this long down and towards your 676 higher time frame key level support for this pushback towards the upside. That's also the higher time frame retest, and it's a nice healthy pullback from last week after having a really really big push higher. So these are the levels that we're going to have marked out. Other levels we can just mark out from the body to the wick. We can mark out this 679 here as well. So these are the two scenarios that we have for the ES and SPY coming into today. Now let's go on to the the NQ chart. So for the NQ chart, you can see if you're comparing these two charts side by side, the ES and the NQ, in my opinion, the ES is more bullish than the NQ. You can see the NQ still hasn't really came up and got above the area that we broke down from, which was from November the 13th. Whereas the ES, we kind of gravitated very similar, right back up towards that November 13th, but I would say it's a little bit more bullish. Not by a lot, but just a little bit more bullish on the ES compared to the NQ, but they're fairly similar. Key level for the NQ coming into today, then the levels that we have marked out, basically the exact same levels as the ES. We have our Wednesday's highs marked out, which is your 25,375. We have our Wednesday's low marked out, which is our 25,150. So key levels coming into today here for the NQ, potential bounce off that Wednesday's lows for that continued pushback towards the upside. Another possible scenario here is that break above your Wednesday's highs for that continued pushback up and towards your Friday's highs, which is your 25,250. So two long scenarios here, exact same thing as the ES. You can mark out from the wick to the body. You can mark out this level here and be used as potential key levels here as well, but just understand we would just be trading in between its Wednesday's highs along with your Wednesday's lows. I much rather trade either above your Wednesday's highs or right the bounce off of your Wednesday's lows. The only way I'm interested in a potential kind of short here for the overall markets, even on ES and the NQ here as well, is primarily the break underneath your Wednesday's lows. So there's really two scenarios. Potential kind of pop and fade off this 25,360 for this kind of mini head and shoulders. In my opinion, shorts for me are really off the table. You can see a potential kind of mini pullback short, but overall now the higher time frames flip bullish. Higher time frames are now holding key levels. The sentiment is starting to shift here as well. And really after last week's low volume really pushed towards the upside, a lot of times whenever you have these low volume grinds back towards the highs, it's fairly bullish. All right. A lot of times when you're shorting, you don't want to see a low volume short because that's a sign for a reversal. But whenever we're moving higher in the markets on low volume, when the volume does pick up, that usually means we're going to have a pretty explosive move. So I'm really not short bias, right? We can have a pullback in the markets, but I'm not as interested in really shorting the markets anymore until right further notice. But at least for shorts, key levels would be your 25,360 or potentially now underneath this 25,120 for a continuation lower. So the same thing applies here for the ES. Really only interested in shorts if you can get underneath that Wednesday's lows, which would be key. Similar thing here with SPY. It would have to be underneath that Wednesday's lows and that Tuesday's highs of last week for me to somewhat be interested in shorts towards the downside. So for the NQ, levels, Wednesday's highs, Wednesday's lows, we're going to have marked out. As for the QQQ, fairly similar thesis here. As you can see on the higher time frames, finally broke back above key levels, being that 610. We're pushing nicely back towards the upside here. So key levels today, exact same levels. We have our Wednesday's lows along with our Tuesday's highs marked out. We also have your Wednesday's highs. So two scenarios coming into market open. We can be looking for the potential bounce off that 610, continuation higher. Reclaim is in play above your 616. And then we can also mark out another key level, 614, right? Potential reclaim, we could be using this level here as well. So really three scenarios, two major scenarios here for the Qs. We also have a third scenario, which will just be a reclaim of an intraday key level from Wednesday. So these are the scenarios that we have played out on the major indices. As mentioned, really shorts for me. I'm only interested kind of if we get underneath this 610. Underneath this 610 here will be key towards the downside. Another possible scenario, if it stays heavy right off the bat, you could be looking for a fade off your 613 for a push down in towards your Wednesday's lows. As I mentioned, not as of a fan, but this of course is still in play. And then right, potential kind of pop and fade, right? Mini kind of mini head and shoulders here, potentially forming if we do reject off this 616. So this is what we have here for the major indices coming into today. Now I'm going to go on to some tech names that we do have coming into this week. If you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat and I'll go over them after I go over the Mag 7 names. Yeah, if you guys also are enjoying this so far, appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, that one is in the description below here as well. Okay. Let's go on to a few names here, some tech names before we go on to some other names here as well. Let's start off on the Mag 7. So for Tesla. So Tesla's in a very key spot, right? Higher time frames, we're kind of coming back up in towards key levels, which is really the area that we broke down from. So for Tesla, this general area right? 424 to 430 here on the daily chart is fairly key. If you go back onto the lower time frames, key levels that we have marked out was really this general area, kind of this 425. We also had some levels up in towards our 432. But for Tesla, you can see tried breaking above our key levels last week. Nice kind of hold above our 426. Continuation up in towards that 432. Overall, still staying a little bit heavy. So for Tesla coming into this week, key levels that we have marked out. What we're going to mark out is our 426. We have our 432 last week's highs. And now we also have your 421. So really 3 zones to keep an eye out for Tesla coming into today. Possible long scenario, number 1 scenario, reclaim back above that 426. Potential kind of continue push back towards the upside. Another possible scenario, bounce off this 421. Push back towards the upside here as well. So really 2 scenarios for Tesla coming into today, at least for long side. Key level, as I mentioned, 421, 426. Tesla key level for the downside is going to be this 421. Exact same level here as well. Potential kind of pop and fade. Or if we can get underneath that 421, we can see some more downside here on Tesla. So this is a higher time frame key level. You can see multiple touches here as well. If we do break underneath that 421, potentially we can get a bigger push lower. So this is what we have for Tesla coming into today. These are the key levels that we have marked out, 421. As for some other tickers that we do have here, let's go on to some semis. As for NVIDIA, so NVIDIA is the ticker that's been really staying heavy and affected overall ever since we had earnings a couple weeks ago. You can see overall markets, nice bounce last week. NVIDIA stayed heavy. So coming into really this week here on NVIDIA, we're just going to keep an eye out on this ticker because if the overall market wants to pull back, this one's most likely going to be the first one to head lower. So key levels coming into this week here for NVIDIA that I do have marked out personally is going to be your Wednesday's lows of last week, multiple touches. We also have your Wednesday's highs, which is your 183. And then we have your Tuesday's lows, which is your 170. So key levels, we can also have marked out potentially your previous day lows. So for NVIDIA coming into today, key levels that I'm now going to have marked out, since we have a pretty big gap down, only down about 1.6% here, but I'm going to mark out this previous day low level, 176. I'm not sure if it's ever going to come back up and towards your previous day lows, but this is the level we're going to have marked out. So for a potential kind of short towards the downside, you have a couple scenarios here. Number 1, push up and towards your previous day lows and potential fade off that level. Previous day low retest for continuation towards the downside. Now with it staying heavy, potential kind of pop and fade off your 175 for a push down in towards right your 170 here as well. So really 2 scenarios for NVIDIA coming into today for potential move lower. So keep an eye out on some pre-market levels along with that 176 previous day lows. As for a long, I would only be interested in a long. I'm not interested in NVIDIA longs unless it was for like low risk or longer term position. But NVIDIA key level would be the reclaim back above this 176. So only way you're interested in looking for longs is the reclaim back above this 176 previous day lows for this pushback higher. So these are the scenarios that we have for NVIDIA coming into today. Now let's go on to the next chart, which is going to be AMD. So for AMD, as you can see right here, key levels that we have marked out really is just our 218 along with this 206. If we zoom out here, right, semis have been beaten down quite a bit for the past really couple weeks now. Ever since we had Palantir guidance with earnings a month back, NVIDIA earnings as well, weaker guidance on some of the semiconductors, so those ones have been staying heavy. As for an AMD coming into this week, key levels that I have marked out, last week's highs, 218, and then I'm also going to mark out now this 207. So for longs, right, really the key is going to be the reclaim back above that 218. Other levels now I can have marked out. I'm just going to mark out this general area here for AMD. Couple touches back here, right from Thursday. There's your previous day lows and a couple touches from Wednesday. So we can just use this 214 level just because we're kind of far away from right 218 and this 207. So levels for AMD today, as I just mentioned, 214, 218. If you want to see longs, number one, reclaim back above that previous day lows, 214 for potential continuation. Another possible scenario, if you can get that push above your previous day highs, 218, we can see some more continuation higher here as well. So this is what we have for long scenarios for AMD. Only short scenario would just be the immediate kind of rejection off this 214 for continuation lower. So these are the scenarios that we have for AMD coming into today. I like to see the reclaim. In my opinion, this would be the best trade. Reclaim 214, push back towards the upside for a push higher. So that's what I have for AMD. Let's go on to Google. Google here, one of the most bullish higher time frame charts. So you can see nice push higher, consolidation, another push higher. Now we're consolidating here once again. So as you can see here for Google coming into market open, key levels that we have marked out, 318. We have multiple touches at this general area. We're kind of forming this flag pattern after this really big push higher. For Google, at least moving forward, we have to see the reclaim or the hold of this 318 key level. You can see previous resistance turn into support. We're breaking underneath it here in the pre-market. Now we just like to see it maintain above it here in the actual market hours for this potential push back up and towards your right 323 along with this 327 and above. So these are the key levels here for Google coming into today. I'm really not interested in Google shorts. Of course, you could be looking for shorts underneath 318, but higher time frame, as I mentioned, fairly bullish. So a lot of these names, higher time frames are flipping, spine cues flipping here as well. It's going to be, in my opinion, a lot harder to short moving forward, just because we had less volatility, right? VIX is dropping, higher time frames are holding up, sentiments flipping here as well, spine cues almost close back up and towards your all-time highs. Historically speaking, we're going to get that Christmas rally coming up soon as well. So any shorts moving forward, in my opinion, are going to be a little bit more difficult. So I'll be reserved unless we have some bearish news catalyst. And I'll just be a little bit more cautious on the short side now because I do expect right major dips to get bought up. Let's go on to Apple. All right, so for Apple here, this one really solid daily time frame, kind of nice push higher, basing above now your previous all-time highs. Let's see if we can get that continuation back towards the upside here on Apple. As you can see here, if we're looking at this on the hourly chart, we still have a little bit more room up and towards our earnings high. But the key levels for me is just going to be your Friday's lows, where you can see we have multiple touches. Previous resistance turn into support. What I would like to see now is the push up and towards your 280 and really above, which is going to be this 284. So this is what we have for Apple moving forward. I'd just like to see it maintain above this 276. So if you go into lower time frames, we're really just kind of ranging last week. So consolidation, right, range above this 276. I'd just like to see it maintain above your 276. So we could be looking for the bounce off 276 for continuation higher. Or now it's going to be the break above 280 for this push up and towards your all-time highs here as well. So two scenarios laid out here for Apple coming into today. Only downside would be underneath that 276 for a potential push lower. So this is what we have here for Apple coming into today here. So keep an eye out on these key levels, 276 along with this 280. As for Meta, this is one of my favorite looking charts here on the higher time frame. So you can see Meta beaten down with earnings, came back down and towards key levels here on the higher time frames. As for Meta, this one's starting to curl nicely here on the daily chart. So You can see huge gap down with earnings, push lower. We're starting to find a bottom here as well, and now we're trying to curl. So for Meta moving forward, at least what I'd like to see hold is your 632. So moving forward here, right, nice kind of buyer stepping in, pushing price back towards the upside. Moving forward here on Meta, I like to see a hold of this 632 for this continuation higher. Another possible scenario, break above that 650. I don't know, I keep saying 650 for continuation higher. So Meta, keep an eye on a Meta moving forward, at least on the daily chart for potential reversal here on the higher time frames. This one, in my opinion, is looking fairly solid. If you go into the lower time frames here, exact same levels we have marked out here as well. You can mark out that 630 higher time frame key level. We also have your 650 marked out. Other levels we can have marked out here now as well is going to be this 638. So key levels for Meta, 638, 632. So potential kind of bounce here off the 638. Another possible scenario, come all the way back down and towards that 632 and push back towards the upside here as well. So these are the scenarios that we have played out for Meta. Only way I'm interested in downside in any ticker is really underneath that Wednesday's lows. So for most of the tickers here, you can see we're holding up with the overall market as well. Only way I'm interested in shorts will be underneath that Wednesday's lows on almost every single ticker. So for the Qs, right, along with the SPY, I'm only interested underneath that Wednesday's lows. And then I'll be a little bit more interested in the downside. But for now, I'm looking for major pullbacks to long towards the upside. Let's go on to Amazon. A few other tickers here. Amazon starting to curl just a little bit here as well. Key levels coming to this week. It's going to be your 232. That's going to be the key level. We have multiple touches. It's going to have to get above that for a continuation higher, at least for a longer term outlook here on this one. All right, we just kind of came back down and towards our key level support. Nice bounce. Eventually, we do want to see this reversal higher. Microsoft, similar thing. Nice bounce off the key level, which is that 470. Now we're coming back up and towards the area that we broke down from, which is this 496. What I'd like to see here is the reclaim back above for this continuation higher. So for here, for Microsoft, you can see nice little bottom here off this 470. Push back up and towards your 494. Now we like to see really reclaim for a push higher. If we reject, potential kind of continuation down back inside of this range, but if we can break back above, the daily chart looks good in my opinion. Right, we kind of came all the way back down in towards this retest level back from July of 2024. Now we'd just like to see reclaim, push back towards the upside. Netflix, similar thing. Key level, previous level of support. Now we like to see the reclaim for a pushback towards the upside. If you look at this on the hourly chart, reclaim level here, April 10th lows, reclaim back above, continuation higher here as well. Okay, so I kind of went over a lot there with the overall markets, but really game plan coming into today is looking for kind of the hold of your Wednesday's lows here for a pullback long on the major indices, specifically the SPY and the Qs. Right, the hold of that Wednesday's lows will push this back towards the upside. My top watches for longs, at least, is really the overall market in itself. A couple of these tech names haven't been really leading the market. So at least for upside, there hasn't been any names, right? Nvidia and AMD have been lagging behind. Tesla hasn't really showed too much strength compared to the overall market. Really, the only name that's been fairly bullish has been like Google and Apple the past few weeks. But these ones kind of slowing down last week. So for levels or for names to keep an eye out on moving forward, really the SPY and Qs themselves, we have our key levels that we have marked out here. So we're just going to be waiting for any sort of relative strength or weakness intraday. I do like Meta a lot just based off the relative strength last week. So I'll keep an eye out on Meta coming into today. And then for the rest of the names, you can keep an eye out on Microsoft. And then we can also keep an eye out on Tesla as well if it does want to show any sort of strength. So that's what we have for the tech names. We'll now go on to a few other growth names here as well. So if you guys do have any charts or any tickers you'd like me to go over, You guys can now drop them in the chat. Alrighty. How's the voice doing? It's doing better. Last week felt a lot better. I still have to drink a decent amount of water here, but it feels a lot better now. Yeah, if you guys do have any charts or any tickers you'd like me to go over, I'll go over them now. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the free watch list, that of course is in the description below. Good live yesterday, I appreciate that. Let's see. Let's go into Palantir. While market at the key levels, why don't you consider market at the highs that failed above or faked out previous highs? For example, ES at 68.60, 68.60, 68.60. Oh, this high right here will be used as well, but at least for today, it's not that valuable just because it's very far away. This is your Friday's highs. So we'd have to get above multiple key levels before we even came close to that Friday's highs. But that's a key level here as well. So if we gravitated towards that, then we'd have that marked out. All right, let's go on to a couple names here. Palantir. So Palantir, this one lagging behind the overall markets. Nice kind of mean reversion last week, but lagging behind the overall markets as you can see here. Coming into today, key levels, as you can see, is just going to be your Wednesday's lows along with your Wednesday's highs, like almost every other ticker. You can see technically we're still trading with inside of this range that we had this big drop towards the downside. So for Palantir, I'll be a little bit more cautious. Key levels coming into today is going to be this 164, right? Potential kind of bounce play off your 164 for a push higher, or another potential long position. It's going to be above your 168. So these are the levels that we have for Palantir coming into today. Only way I'm interested for some downside underneath that Wednesday's lows, 164 for a potential continuation lower. So these are the ones that we have. Can you share the link for the live session? Yeah, I will upload it on my second channel, so keep an eye out for that. I'll try and get that uploaded either by tonight or tomorrow. Sometime this week, I'll have that uploaded on my second channel. As for AVGO, so a couple of you guys are mentioning AVGO. This one, really solid push on the daily time frame. Kind of nice bounce off a key level support. Bullish news catalyst really pushed this back up and towards your all-time highs. Now for AVGO moving forward, we just like to see it maintain above this 390. So key levels that we have coming into today, is going to be your 390. You can see multiple touches. This is your previous all-time highs, if I'm not mistaken, here as well. So very key level for AVGO. Nice kind of drop here in the pre-market, but right down in towards our key level. So for AVGO moving forward, as long as you can maintain above that 390, we can see continuation higher. And if we can reclaim back above the 400, we can see this nice push back up and towards our all-time highs. So two scenarios here for AVGO. Look for that bounce off that 390 or the reclaim back above 400. What's your name of your second channel? I think it's called, it's linked on my YouTube channel. So I can't remember off the top of my head, but if you go into my channel and you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll be able to find a link for it and you can subscribe. I think it's called like Trading with Jack, or I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll send a link. I'll let you guys know once I do upload that video. All right, let's go on to a few other tickers. SoFi. So SoFi bouncing, a couple of these high beta names bouncing nicely last week, kind of just off key levels of support. You see a lot of consolidation kind of the past couple months here at your all-time highs. Key levels that we have really coming into SoFi moving forward is going to be this key pivot level. Let me actually just readjust this real quick. I like this level right here, which is just your 28.50. You can see touch here, multiple touches. This is the level we like to see maintained for continuation higher. So for SoFi moving forward, at least on the 15-minute time frame, you can see nice touch here, nice touch here, nice touch on Friday, and push towards the upside. Moving forward here for SoFi, really today, maintain above your 28.50 for this push back up and towards the highs. This is going to be key. Other levels you can have marked out as well, 29.20, potential continuation here as well. For shorts, potential break underneath, right? 28.50. We can see a potential mean reversion underneath this key low, which you can see level of support potentially turning into resistance if we can get underneath. So that's the levels that we have for SoFi coming into today. And then I'll go over hood. Key level for hood is going to be your 123. You can see nice break above key level of resistance. Now we're coming back down to retest. We just like to see maintain above or 122 here for any sort of continuation higher. So that's what we have for hood. If we can maintain above this level, potential continuation, mean reversion back higher. If we break underneath, then we can see this pushback towards the downside. So that's what we have for hood coming into today. As for, I didn't realize it was already 8:40 here, so I guess we already went over a decent amount of tickers. We don't have too much time, but I'm just going to go over my game plan coming into today. So as for the overall markets in the game plan here, just going to briefly go over key level 610, right? Wednesday's highs, Wednesday's lows. We can also mark out, as I mentioned, just this key level. So let's mark this out. So the key level I'm going to have marked out here is just going to be your 613. So what I'd like to see coming to today, either the bounce off that 610, or now it's going to be that reclaim back above 613 for a push higher. So these are the long scenarios. Similar thing here with SPY, right? Push down towards that Wednesday's lows or that reclaim for a push higher. My top watches coming to today, as I mentioned, are just going to be the major indices themselves for potential mean reversion. A lot of these tech names have been lagging behind since the SPY has been the leader. As for Tesla, we can keep an eye on this one, offer 420 or potential reclaim of this 426. So keep an eye out on that. As for semiconductors, I'm leaning a little bit more towards the downside, right? Not by a lot, right? 60-40. And then for the rest of the names, right, leaning towards upside 60-40 as well. So for downside, if the market wants to stay heavy, keep an eye out on NVIDIA and AMD, Tesla, and the rest of the names and the overall indices will look for a potential kind of mean reversion. Google, I still like a lot. 318 is going to be key for a potential reclaim. Apple, I still like basing above here as well. So a couple of these names I like for some upside, at least on the higher time frames. And then Meta, I like quite a bit for a potential mean reversion, right? Keep an eye out on Meta. Hold above your 640 for this pushback towards the upside. So keep an eye out on Meta. And then potentially Microsoft if you can get above this 494. So those are the main tickers, and even AVGOs on watch as well. Right, potential reclaim back above 400 for this continuation higher. So those are the names that we have coming into today. That's also going to be it for me as well. I'm going to get ready for market open. So yeah, it's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that. If you did, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the watch list, that of course is in the description below. And then I will see you guys all tomorrow. All right, take care everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.